Hey y'all. So this is going to be a kingdom marriage, kingdom spouse word. And there has been like mental attacks as of lately. Just a lot of spiritual attacks. It's actually beyond mental attacks. I've experienced several different forms of attacks over the last few weeks. But one of the main things is the enemy kind of sending like attacks, trying to trigger things in you, like mentally, emotionally, maybe bringing up, or let me just get into the dream that I had. So the dream that I had was my spouse and I, and we have been brought into the new, right? And God has brought us into the new. And in the dream, there was just so many things that was happening from like the past in the present, but like things that would have triggered me in the past is what was happening. And I was like allowing it. But like what God showed me through that is that with the new that he's brought you into, you have to have a changed mindset. You have to know that certain things that happened in the past, that's no more. Like God has washed that away and things are different now. Like he's brought you into new. So you have to handle things differently. You have to view things differently, right? And I wasn't. I was allowing these things to trigger me and affect me, right? And then the scene kind of switched, and this is actually what I've been experiencing in real life too. And it was almost like God gave me this dream to warn me, and then it like actually happened. And then the scene kind of switched where there was there was like a lot of people around, like a crowd of people, and I just kept hearing like second chances, second chances. And God was showing me with that, there is a lot of us that he has given second chances to. Spouses, like he's brought us into this new renewed relationship, right? And giving us a second chance at this thing, right? And we cannot, that actually takes me back to a word that I was supposed to put out last week. Well, I'm not gonna, I will maybe circle back around that, or I will just do it in another video. But, so that's kind of what's been going on. And so then, I had turned on the TV yesterday, and this show that my daughter watches, Big City Greens, I've mentioned it in previous words, like God will speak to me through that show sometimes. And he hasn't in a while, probably since summer, maybe. But he did use it last night. And it was basically the dad was on the highway. They were stuck in traffic. And it was because of this deer that was running loose through the interstate, and they had to try to catch him, right? So the dad actually got out and decided he was waiting too long. He was tired of waiting, so he took it upon himself to get out and go try to get the deer. And it actually caused a bunch of chaos. And then once he finds the deer is like sitting there, and the dad starts saying, I get what you're going through. It's enough to drive a guy crazy. And that's kind of like God, in a sense, saying like, I understand your feelings. I understand what you're going through, because this journey, honestly, it's not easy. And I know it's like when people say it's in God's timing, it's in God's timing. It is in God's timing, but it's not the easiest thing to hear, nor is it the easiest thing to deal with sometimes. Like I go through stages where I'm good for a while. Like I'm straight on God's time, and I'm like, I got this. Like I'm cool. I'm content. But then there's other times, like recently, where I'm like I'm getting impatient. I'm getting tired. I'm getting like I'm done. But God's like, I get it. I understand it, right? He says, I guess we're not that different. We both, and then this is what stood out too. He says, we both want to be somewhere else. So he's kind of showing, like, I don't know if maybe you feel like your spouse feels differently than you, like they're just not wanting to do this, this, and this, but they, it seems that way. He's saying, like, he's trying to reassure you that they do feel the same way that you feel, although they may not vocalize it. Like, internally, they feel the same way you do. They want the same things you do, right? But there may be something that is just making that not possible right at this moment, because again, God's timing, right? So it says, we both want to be somewhere else, but for right now, we are where we are at. So let's calm down, take a few breaths, and try to appreciate where you're at, and you might surprise yourself. He's saying, like, you want to be here. I get it, right? So do they, but like, this is where you're at the moment. So calm down, relax, take a few breaths, and try to appreciate where you're at. Like, try to appreciate where you're at in the now. Like, stop trying to jump ahead, right? Because that's what he did. He tried to take it upon himself to get out and move the deer out of the way so that he put his hands in, attempted to put his hands in, it caused chaos, right? And so maybe you've been doing that lately. I don't know. But he's saying, and then the song came on and it said, when things are feeling wrong and your life is all askew, just climb the tallest hill you find and change your point of view. So God is saying it's really your point of view, right? And this is where the enemy comes in and he starts to manipulate your perspective, right? He can use the circumstances to come in and manipulate you into viewing it one way, right? Because he's able to get in, if you allow him, he's able to come in and manipulate your emotions and your feelings, right? And you'll know this too, because if your feelings are not aligning with what God said, it's the enemy coming in and manipulating you, right? And you allow it. I do sometimes, not gonna lie. Like, I'm human, right? We're human. It happens. But he's saying it's really a perspective thing right now. Like, you have to have your mind and your heart set on what God said, right? Taking your emotions and your feelings completely out of it. Because if you don't, this is when you go downhill, you backslide, and things start to tumble, right? And then there was another episode that came on right after this one that says, sometimes you might have more in common than you think. That's literally where I landed on the episode right after that one. Like, I didn't watch any of it, just this part I just heard. And it literally says, sometimes you might have more in common than you think. Going back to the previous episode where he said, I guess we're not that different. You may have more in common than you think with your spouse, right? They may not express their emotions. They may not express what they're feeling. You might not be able to see what they are feeling on the inside, right? But God is pretty much trying to assure you that they are feeling the same way that you are. And so, perspective. And then it says, I had typed this in when I was writing it in my notes. I couldn't get to my notes on my phone fast enough. And I don't know, Google was up. And so I just started typing it in on Google. And AI overview came up. This stood out to me. And it said, even when people seem very different on the surface, they might share deeper values, interests, or experiences that could lead to a connection, right? And true love isn't about taking advantage of someone. It's not selfish. but rather about giving freely and supporting them. Giving freely and support. It's not about take, right? Love, true love, real love, right? The agape love. It's about giving and giving. And so also today I got the number 26, which in the Strong's means to love. And then I had seen this book at a store that stood out to me as well tonight that said, everything you do, do with love. So God's kind of trying to say, like, get out of your feelings. And remember, 37, to sanctify, to make holy, to purify, to consecrate. Remember to stay out of your feelings, right? In this journey, we're human. It's going to happen, but we can't rely on our feelings we can't let our feelings and emotions dictate, like, what did God say, right? If your feelings and emotions are not aligning with what God said, if it's complete opposite, sanctify yourself, consecrate yourself, purify yourself, right? And everything that you do with love. Move in love. Remember to move in love. And I had gotten Song of Songs 8:5. This is the man, it says, who is this coming out of the desert leaning on her lover? Then it says, I woke you under the apple tree. This is the man speaking to the woman. It was there that you were born. There your mother gave birth to you. Put me like a seal on your heart, like a seal on your arm. Love is as strong as death. Desire is as strong as the grave. Love bursts into flames. It burns like a very hot fire. Even much water cannot put out the flame of love. Floods cannot drown love. If a man offered everything in his house for love, people would totally reject it. It's just speaking on love, right? And he gave me a ton of it's just been like I've been kind of saving these numbers throughout the last week or so. And through these numbers, he's pretty much saying, don't refuse, right, to fight and to labor, right? He's brought you into a blessing, right? A second chance at this, right? To do things the right way. Do not, he's saying, be attentive to this blessing, to this baby, right? Do not, be free of corruption or decay. Don't allow this thing to die, right? And decay. Do not corrupt the new, but stay sanctified, stay pure, stay sincere. Don't be foolish, right? Don't be doing no foolishness, because I'll tell you, like, this week, I have been, I've been letting it hit. It's just been like back to back. And I have just backslid. I've showed my behind, okay? Don't do that. Don't be unfruitful. Don't be unbarren, right? Don't miss the right time to act. Remember, this is a crucial time, a time to be discerning. This is a time so much is coming from this, right? God has given you, this is the Kairos timing, right? The divine. Don't miss the time. Don't get in your feelings. Don't be foolish. Don't be foolish. Do not be unfruitful. Like, remember to remember humility, right? Be humble, be kind, walk in love, and don't be unwilling to fight and to labor this thing, because you can destroy, right, your own blessing. What is the verse? A wise woman builds her home, a foolish woman tears it down, something along those lines. Don't be the foolish woman that tears it down. Be the wise woman that builds it up, right? Stay out of your feelings. With everything that you need, right? Take it to God. Galatians 6:9. That's the other verse. Let me see. Hold on. We must not become tired of doing good. Don't become weary and well doing. We will receive our harvest of eternal life at the right time. We must not give up at the right time. God's perfect timing, right? Do not allow the enemy to come in and tempt you with this, and this. Obviously God allows it. It could be even a test from God. God allowing these things to surface back around to see how you're going to handle it, right? If it's a test, I failed. I failed this week, y'all. I failed. But this is God's correction, right? And do not allow the enemy to, remember to be blameless, right? Don't allow corruption or decay, right? Just don't allow the enemy to come in and steal your blessing. Remember to be pure, sincere, fruitful. Everything you do it with love. And try to stay out of your feelings. God's told me this whole journey, stay out your feelings. Like, it's not saying your feelings aren't valid, because they are. But in order to keep it moving forward, you have to get in your feelings for a minute, right? But don't allow it to dictate your behavior and such for the day. Like, it's fine to have feelings. Give it to God and move on, is what I'm trying to say. Don't stay stuck in it. And if God has created new and placed you on a new foundation, then the old things of the past that may have triggered you before, don't allow the enemy to come in and manipulate your minds and your feelings, your thoughts, all of the things, and have you backslide and dealing with things and seeing things the way that you used to see them, when it's completely, he's a liar, right? Devil's a liar. And he will come in and try to manipulate things and manipulate you. And if you let him, look at me this week. I'm just being honest. So keep yourself sanctified. Keep your discernment at a high right now, and know, what is it? Be smarter. Be smarter than that. Be smarter than the enemy. Tell the enemy no, because when you do, he flees, right? So, let's see. Oh yeah. 59.93 I had gotten. My noble people, my people are willing. Be a willing people. Be a willing vessel, right? Fight and labor. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. It's because it's not easy. It's not easy. It is not easy. But in order to keep the blessing, right? You have to. You have to put on the full armor of God. And that is all. I have this other word I guess I'll probably release after this one. It kind of ties into it a little bit. But I do pray that this makes sense. I pray that it gets to those that it needs to get to at the right time. If y'all feel led to sow, my information will be in the description box. I pray over every seed that is sown. And I just pray that y'all stay blessed. And I will see you on my next video. Okay, bye.